Welcome to One Rhyme at a Time, Unpacking the Meaning and the Muse podcast, where poetry meets mental wellness right here in the heart of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am the Poetic Diva, and I am thrilled to embark on this poetic healing journey with you. As in every episode, we are being joined by a poet and a mental health professional. And today's conversations is one of the most serious ones that we've had. We're going to be talking about suicide. We are talking about the people who have considered ending their lives. We're talking about the families and the friends who are left behind after a suicide loss. And we're talking about something that every human being needs: hope. We're being joined today by poet Brandon Rawls and mental health professional Katharine Perry. Join me as we welcome our first guest, Brandon Rawls. Brandon Rawls is a storyteller whose art lives at the intersection of vulnerability, faith, and transformation. Through spoken word, music, writing, and public speaking, he creates spaces where people, especially men, can rediscover the courage to feel, heal, and love authentically. A career coach, speaker, former minister, and collegiate football player, Brandon's creative work is deeply rooted in his own journey of overcoming abandonment, childhood trauma, loss, and the pressure to perform. Brandon is the co-author of Room on My Shelf, an inspirational memoir that explores emotional healing through poetic storytelling and symbolism. Whether standing on a stage, recording in a studio, or sharing an intimate story with a room full of strangers, Brandon invites people to lay down the emotional burdens they've carried for years. His work is both reflective and practical, encouraging audiences to move beyond survival and embrace wholeness. With a voice that blends lyricism, authenticity, and hope, Brandon continues to use his artistry to inspire deeper conversations, healthier relationships, and lives marked by courage, compassion, and purpose. A native of Perry, Georgia, Brandon earned his bachelor's degree at Brevard College in Brevard, North Carolina, and received his master's degree from the Morehouse School of Religion. Brandon is based in Atlanta and is the proud father of 3 children. Please join me in welcoming Brandon Rawls to One Rhyme at a Time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So now we will hear Brandon share his poem, Room on My Shelf.
Thank you. Suicide is one of those things that's frequently thought about, but it's so rarely talked about. So I'm honored that you invited me here to talk, because I was 6 when I first tried to end it. I looped the belt and I slipped my head in. Thank God I rescinded. The next attempt, I found the gun under the seat. I closed my eyes and imagined what would happen if the bullet and brain meets. It's interesting how time passes now. I told a gun in my belt and those admissions on the shelf. The next several decades was flashes and blurs. I never recovered from the lack of courage to finish what I started. My world was disturbed. Embarrassed that I tried, I fell asleep in pride. Eager to figure out life, suicide was on hold. Well, at least until I went through the phone of my wife. That night, I walked the white stripe. I felt my life in the balance of the bright lights. Innocent souls traveling the road carried my fate as I contemplated stepping in the road they drove. No one swerved, so I figured I deserved to try again. For 2 years, I tried to figure my marriage out. So I sat on my therapist's couch with reasonable doubt. The audacity to hope felt hopeless. I tried to forgive, but there was never any repentance. So that choice to stay alive as a kid, it became a life sentence. I gave all of me until I was finished, at least until I decided to end it. I woke up one day. I left with nowhere to stay. All of me wasn't enough, and it was too much of a price to pay. So I chose to leave quietly. Even though my home is where I desired to be, I found value in places where I accepted me. My spirit was free sleeping homelessly. More room for myself as I slept on the back seat. Eventually, I found a room to stay. It was at my cousin Walter's place. I found peace living out of a suitcase. The same peace that I had lost at my place. I continue unpacking the traumas they had to vacate. And that's when I started to remember me. This remembering began to remember me. I remember I was 6 when I consciously chose to live. Little me knew I had a lot to give. The negative is always present with the positive. So I took the head out the loop, and I chose not to shoot. The next several decades, we were consumed with living. We created great memories, but unfortunately, the marriage ended. I remember how grateful I was for the times that I slept in the park. My soul began to mend as I slept in the dark. Just when I lost Brandon, I found myself. Now it's room for me on my shelf.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to start off by asking, is this your story?
Yes. Yeah. This is absolutely, it's pretty accurate in details. It's not a lot of embellishing at all.
So the time frame runs from the age of 6 to your adult years.
Yeah, 30s.
What was the actual thing that happened that caused you to finally put pen to paper?
So that's a good question. So I actually started writing when I was in undergrad. I was never really comfortable with it, but it was a natural gift. So I thought it was cool that I would just start writing and something made sense, and sometimes it even rhymed. So it was something I had picked up early. When I graduated, I kind of got away from it. Busy, kids, career, all those good things. But when I was going through this, I was like, I don't even have a hobby. And so I picked back up my pen, and it was like magic. I started feeling better. It was like I was leaving, really unpacking traumas. Like, I would get lighter as I wrote. So I just kind of ran with it.
That's the power of the pen.
It is. It's cool too. I never thought that would be it.
Yeah.
Kind of always been a jock athlete, never really leaned into any of that in the creative side of things.
So as I was reading through your poem, you make several references to your shelf. What does the shelf symbolize?
The shelf symbolizes how you carry your stories. It's like a bookshelf. A lot of us were given books. The process of picking back up my pen, I learned to be intentional how I organized those books. I got rid of some. I kept some. I put some on the top shelf. It's like I even started putting it in alphabetical order. So room on my shelf is like creating space with your life, with your story, because it's part of you. So you kind of got to arrange it. So room on my shelf.
That is really an amazing analogy that you make, because as you're explaining that, I think of, some of us who have like too much on our shelves. Some of us who have dusty books on our shelves that we need to blow the dust off of and open them back up again and things of that nature. So there's so many different ways that you can go with the reference of my shelf.
Yeah.
And it was mentioned in your bio that there's actually a book that you've co-written that's by that same title. Tell us a little bit about the book.
So the book is just kind of it's filling in the blanks. The poems, flashes and blurs. It covers a long period of time very quickly, and the book kind of fill in the gaps. Like what was bothering me when I was 6. How I found football. Football was a great place for me to kind of let go of some of that energy. It was on like the only place where like anger had a place and it wasn't out of place. It was like it was an excitement that came with being able to be, you know, explosive and, you know, without hurting somebody. Well, intentionally hurting somebody.
It was an outlet.
EA Sports in the game,
A socially acceptable outlet.
Yeah. But football didn't provide any healing.
Sure.
It was an outlet, but it wasn't healing. It wasn't the work of organizing the shelf, if you will.
Right.
So it's kind of output.
Get that. I get that.
Mm.
So I do want to know if there was shame that was carried. There's a part of your poem where you mention, I never recovered from the lack of courage to finish what I started.
Yeah.
So was there some type of shame that you carried in being unsuccessful in ending your life?
Yeah. So like, I think I struggle with like perfectionism. And so it's like, man, I want to be good at everything I do. And I couldn't even get that right. It was kind of like that type of feeling. It actually, you know, at the time, I don't think I really felt the shame until I started writing. It was kind of like, that's when it kind of the words came for it. But it was kind of like just a frustration. Yeah. And really going back into, like when I found language for, like this shelf idea, I was in grad school and one of the professors, he says, you have embedded theology and you have deliberative theology. Embedded theology is what happens when you were taught what to believe. Okay. Deliberative theology is what happens when you're intentional about what you believe. And so like finding those ways to interact with the emotions, because I didn't know what it was. Everything just kept coming up as anger. Yeah. Like the tears didn't come until after the fall. I was being tough. You know, the image of a tough guy.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I was that. I was that for sure. I was that.
And in a lot of cases, society doesn't allow our boys to express the full range of emotion.
Yeah.
You know, it's
tough.
like, suck it up.
Don't cry about that.
Right.
I was taught that. I was,
man up.
That's embedded.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
embedded.
Yeah. And then it seems like we spend our whole lives trying to undo some of the things that we were taught in our youth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the questions from our studio audience, they're wanting to know, did you write this poem all at once? And share a little bit about just your editing process, because there's a lot of like internal rhyme in the poem. So share your process with us. So I wrote the first part. I was 6 when I first tried to end it. And then I wrote the second part. I wrote that part at the same time where I was talking about the 2 different times as a kid, because it wasn't long in between. You know, I can remember it was a Saturday, and my mama was fussing. She was just fussing. We had to clean up on Saturday. She had Anita Baker. Oh yeah, we had to turn the music on. She had the Fugees. Yes. You know, like that's what she was. Yes. But my mom, she demanded excellence, and it was tough because I'm a rebel, and then we clashed a lot. But it was a Saturday. My dad was supposed to pick me up. He never came, and I was just so frustrated. I'm mad at my mom. I'm ready to leave. Daddy didn't show up. Said he was coming, and I just went in the closet, and I wrapped a belt on a rail, and I put my head in, but I ain't had the courage to do it. That bothered me. That was a shame. And then my mom, I don't know if she didn't know it, but she had a gun under her front seat of her car. And I just picked it up. I put it in my head, and I really imagined, like, what if I pulled the trigger, you know? And so I kind of got away from the question. But these things were like, these are just a sequence of events. What's the question? I want to ask questions
Go
about what.
ahead. Yeah,
So,
that kind
at
of came out of
such a
nowhere.
young age, how did you even know that that was an option?
I can't tell you that I knew it was an option outside of like I was frustrated with being frustrated. And I didn't know that anger was like this secondary type emotion. It was just like but when it came out, it was like an eruption.
Yeah.
And I was tired of feeling like that. And I was just started like entertaining the idea, like, let's go ahead and end it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't really have those words though. I did
Yeah.
even now it's like 6 because I have a 7-year-old right now. And
Right.
it's like I can't imagine him thinking like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Can't imagine him thinking like that.
We're so glad that you're still here, though.
Me too.
No, we're so glad
I would not
that
have
you're
a
still here.
7-year-old.
We're so glad that you failed at that.
Yeah.
So would you say that writing and sharing your story is one of the reasons to keep going?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So I say I'm formally in ministry, right? But I never really felt at home in the pulpit.
Okay.
I know I have a gift to write. I got a gift to speak, but never felt like home. And picking up the pen and sharing my story, oh, this feels like home. It feels like home. And that question was the question I forgot. It was it was like, did I write it in one time? I wrote that first part and I had to sit with it because I didn't know where to go.
Okay.
And then this is where I know it's kind of a gift. So I sat down and I was involved in therapy, and I shared with her that I was a poet, but I don't really write no more. And she was like, you should write a piece on transformation. So I picked up that first part again, and then it just came out, in one sit down. It was like one more early morning, it just came to me. And it was like, wow, and it rhymed. A lot of times
out of you that way.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like it's really shocking. It was like that was cool. Like I might think of rhyming words, but like a lot of the times I don't even know where I'm going. I just started writing and it's like, how am I gonna land this plane?
Right.
Like I gotta wrap it up. I couldn't leave you at suicide, so I had to, because the goal was to write about transformation. I was like, I don't feel like that no more. So I wrote about the process.
That's good.
And I retold the same story because what I learned about my story is like, yeah, I was angry, but my mother was an amazing mother.
Yeah.
And like my daddy did the best he could. It's the same. The stories are running parallel. And how I interacted with it, how it was arranged on my shelf, determined how I felt about myself.
I get that.
And so I learned to retell my story from a positive way.
Yeah. And it's like the story didn't change, but your perspective
That's it.
Changed.
Yeah, the difference between heaven and hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's powerful. And I do want to let you know that ministry doesn't have to happen in the pulpit.
Took years to figure that out.
Yeah. This is still ministry.
Absolutely.
This is still ministry.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So when it comes to writing, do you intentionally set aside time to write on a regular basis, as far as journaling, things of that nature? Or do you only write when the muse moves you?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on the time of the year. Like I think in the summer I'm more active. Like I just write just because the day ends and why. While other times it's like like in the winter months it's kind of that's when I'm more likely to slip into like a lower mood. So I was like, I have to journal, I have to get it out. So I was like, I guess the time of the year depends on how intentional I am about it. But yeah, like if I'm down, I'm intentional. I said to him, like, you know what? We're not doing it. We're gonna write this out. It's kind of like I feel it physically in my body where it's like I release the energy. I still get sad. I'm just not a sad person.
There you go. And it's proven medication. Like, you know that it works.
It do.
You know that it works. You know that it works.
And then sometimes people like it.
Yeah. And you change lives. Like I always talk about the importance of writing and how therapeutic it is. But when you get to a point in your healing journey to where you can stand flat-footed in front of people and share it, that's when you change other people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, so that they realize that they're not alone in what their struggles are and things of that nature. And so I think it's amazing and beautiful that you are at a point in your life that you can share, you know,
thank you,
things, because this is heavy. This is heavy.
Yeah, it used to be. I don't feel heavy no more.
It's a heavy topic.
It is a heavy topic.
Yeah, it's a heavy topic.
I'm so shocked at how many people, like, I was like, they'll pull me to the side after they hear it, because I've done different, spoken word events, and it's always like that one guy that's like you would never guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm struggling with that too. Or, I struggle with that. Like, there's always somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always somebody.
I know that you have a strong commitment to assisting and supporting men. So how can we better support men so that they feel encouraged to be more open about their mental health and different things that they struggle with?
Man, that's a good question, because what works in this space with the same person may not work in another. So I share so many details.
Yeah.
I read a book, it's Spirit of Intimacy. And I think intimacy begets intimacy. So if I share my story and do it without sweating, I'm actually nervous to share it. But if I do it, somebody else will do it. And it's like I don't have to have a recipe. Like a lot of people have to feel safe.
Definitely.
And when someone goes first, the next person is a little easier. So I don't have an exact answer outside of creating environments of safety, but that's different for everybody. The way I do it, I just tell mine. And I don't hold a lot of details back. I make sure to not paint other people in my story in a certain light. But for my story, I just tell it. And then somewhere in there, it's some magic that happened.
Yeah, your being willing to be vulnerable gives other people permission to be vulnerable as well.
Yeah. Because it's with so many people carrying these, these suicidal ideations, out of 10 people, 7 may be feeling it, and they feel alone, and they have no idea that it's 6 other people in the same room with them, with the same feelings, the same feelings. So
there was a turning point in your poem, the moment that you realized the marital betrayal that sent you back into the spiral. And in that part, you mentioned that was the night that you walked the white stripe. This part of the poem felt my life in the balance of the bright lights, innocent souls traveling the road. This was a really, really impactful part of the poem and really emotional when you think about just that balance of innocent souls traveling the roads, carrying my fate. Is there more that you can share with us about your thought process in formulating this part of your poem?
That was a tough night first. And I had associated myself with being a good husband, being a great dad. So in a lot of ways, I felt like I had lost everything. I felt like I did feel like it was I was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk these. I walked down the road, and nobody hit me, but I ain't had the courage to fully step in the road either. So it's like, did I not have the courage, or did I have the strength to keep walking? And so it was like, I don't know. And I started to see how the frustration of not sharing my story played into the demise of the marriage. And so it's like I started blaming myself. It was a tough time.
Yeah.
It felt like that because it felt like that.
It felt like that.
It felt like that.
You expressed it really, really well.
Yeah,
You expressed it really, really well.
Yeah. But it also after that, that's when I reached out for help. I was not I had never thought about therapy. I didn't have like a negative view of it, but I also didn't have it value in my life for it. I was like, I don't need therapy.
Right.
I'm good. I can next play.
Right.
Next play. I got hurt on that play. I'll get up, I'll limp.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes you got to sit on the sideline, and that was enough to make me go, because it was like, you ain't got it in you to take yourself out. You might as well enjoy life.
Right.
So that's why I went for help.
And I was going to mention that as I'm reading through the poem and listening to you share the poem, your situation didn't improve. It seemed like your situation got worse.
It did.
But something in you changed. And that was due to seeking help outside of yourself.
Yeah. And I don't like to get beat by anything. And I was getting beat. And so I knew I had to change my strategy. I had a losing record. I had to do something.
Yeah.
And so
that's a very interesting way to look at it.
I had to do something. And I was exhausted being myself. I was just exhausted. It's like, man, this don't ever stop. You got bills, you got now, infidelity, just the responsibility of life while still being a 6-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still carrying that.
Yeah.
Still carrying that.
Same feelings.
The final line of your poem, when you say, now there is room for me on my shelf. Unpack that for us.
It's like X-Men. Like you're an outsider, but you here to help. Like you constantly feel like out of place. Like I'm not supposed to be here. This is not happening to me. It's kind of like just separate myself from the feelings and when I started to write again, like it was literally like a pressure relieved in my chest. I felt my energy open up. I felt like my motivation. I noticed I had stopped. My car was always like dirty. It was like stuff everywhere. Like a lot of things in my life was out of place.
Yes.
And so started writing. The car started being clean again.
Yes.
It started organizing. I started getting haircuts. Picked up weight. It's like everything just started kind of correcting it. First, it was kind of. I used to ask myself, what does it mean to seek ye first the kingdom of God?
Yeah.
And all these things will be added unto you. I was like, man, I done gave my life to this. I done went to school. I done got in debt. I done committed, I've been in ministry. I'm trying to why is I didn't seek the kingdom.
Right.
But they say the kingdom is within.
Yes.
And so when I started writing, that space freed up. Things just started happening. It's like life literally stopped happening to me and started happening for me. And it's like, and it was a really cool, and it's still a cool sequence of events. Because like I was searching for, like, I knew I was close to my purpose, being in ministry.
Right.
But it still felt out of place, that outsider type energy. And so it was like, without those sequence of events, I wouldn't be sitting here with you.
Exactly.
And today's a blessing.
Exactly.
And so it's like these little things just start happening, unfolding, and here I am sharing. I didn't ask for this space. This space opened up to me.
That's true.
And it was like, this is my room. Like, I got space. So I was excited. So and every day seems to be like that. And I do believe that's the kingdom.
What did writing this poem do for you?
So the first time I wrote this poem, the first time I was came out public with this poem was my first spoken word event. And it was a suicide prevention. And the feedback, I was stumbling, shaking, nervous. And when I shared it, the feedback that it validated that 6-year-old kid that was frustrated with life. And I was like, wow, like that pain has purpose. And it was the beginning of like just like an energy flow. It was just different. Like I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. That outside of feeling, it slowly started to go away. And so it really created room for me. Like literally.
There's also a line where you say that I lost Brandon, and this is actually from our studio audience. I lost Brandon and I found myself. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
And that's a deep one too, because it's like if I take away my arm, I'm still this person inside. You can change my name, and I'm still this person inside. Mm-hmm. And I was able to find, like, it's this voice that's always going in my head. And it's like, who is that? I can hear this voice without saying anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm the one that experienced the experience. I'm the one that hear your voice. I'm like, I'm not just Brandon. And so, but when all of like the ways I had to find myself, I was a football player. I never planned on not playing football.
Right.
And then that ended. Never planned on getting a divorce.
Yeah.
Never thought that I would live outside the house with my kids. Right. Oh, that was the hardest part.
Right.
And so it was like all of these things, I lost them.
And these were things that defined you.
Yeah. And then I got comfortable sleeping homeless. It was like crazy. Yeah. I went from my house, to nothing. That was myself. Like, I hope that answered your question.
It did. Because one of the hardest questions for us to answer is, who are you? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also one of the most powerful things you can say, because anything after I am is a definition of, and it's I am is so vast. And I am free. I am depressed. Mm-hmm. That what you put next determines the life you live.
So I've got to ask you, who are you?
I am. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I am.
And that's a comma, not a period.
Because there's so much more.
There's so much.
Are there any closing thoughts, any things that you want to share with our audience that we did not get an opportunity to touch on?
Yeah. I don't, if you're hearing this, if you feeling the way I felt, like, you're not alone. You're not alone like that. It's so many, there are more people that feel this way that don't feel this way. And so like, but if it's one person you trust, talk to them, but that's not the answer. When I love myself, like I love my kids, oh man, it got a little easier to live. It got a little easier for that next thing that's happening. It was like, oh man, somebody passed away. You get laid off. A lot of people get laid off right now. Like if you can find it in yourself, most people are really good at loving their neighbor, but they're terrible at loving themselves. And it's a two-part equation. It says, love your neighbor like you love yourself. And if you can figure out the love yourself part, the rest will figure itself out. Do it to yourself.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's powerful. So if people are wanting to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
You can find me on all social media platforms, Shelf Conversations. They went live today, like literally.
Wonderful.
And so Shelf Conversations, you can get my book on Amazon. It's on Amazon.
And say the name of the book.
Room on My Shelf.
Room on My Shelf.
Yeah, Room on My Shelf.
Okay. We will be looking for you. Hey. And we thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And for sharing with us.
Thank you.
So as we prepare to welcome our mental health professional, I need to remind you that this is a conversation. It is not meant to replace therapy. It is important that you seek the help of a medical professional regarding any concerns that you have regarding your mental or physical health and well-being. Now, with that being said, join me as we welcome our guest, Katharine Perry, to One Rhyme at a Time. Katharine Perry is a licensed clinical social worker currently working as a therapist at Chattanooga Recovery Center. Katharine graduated magna cum laude and with honors from the University of Houston with a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology. Katharine conducted research for Baylor College of Medicine at Menninger Psychiatric Clinic, focusing on emerging personality disorders in the adolescent treatment program. She then went on to complete a master's in child development from Tufts University in Boston, Massachusetts, and a postgraduate fellowship in infant parent mental health from the University of Massachusetts in Boston. Katharine worked in city government to launch an attachment-based early intervention service in New York City as a clinical program associate for the Administration for Children's Services. During her time in New York City, Katharine sat on the board of Early Head Start, New York 0 to 3, and Harlem Grown. Katharine completed her Master's of Science in Social Work from the University of Texas in Austin in 2021 and has been living and working in Chattanooga as a social worker ever since then. Join me in welcoming our guest, Katharine Perry, to One Rhyme at a Time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Whoa, what a heavy topic. And I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to witness the conversation that we just had with our poet, Brandon. From just witnessing that conversation, what are some of the immediate things that you would want to share with our audience?
When you asked me to do this, I felt an enormous sense of responsibility to the topic and to the community that would be watching. And I hopped on, I did a lot of lit reviews. I asked friends of mine that work and that I really, and I just could have read the poem.
Like, that's all I needed.
But every theme that I was going to come prepared to address, that it's sort of the role of attachment, the disproportionate amount of men affected by this, particularly men of color, the shame in seeking help, the sort of role of narrative, the normalization of the conversation. And I the one thing that really struck me was that what got Brandon to open up about this experience was not that someone sat him down and said, tell me the worst thing that's ever happened to you, or tell me about the darkest period in your life. Someone invited him to go, let's talk about transformation. So there was a safety built in there that he could really control where that was going to go. Because I think sometimes when we talk about suicide, both parties are very frightened. And clinicians, and I could say for clinicians, it's scary because you're going, what if I mess this up?
Right.
You know, or a loved one. So I imagine that for many family members or friends, they go, oh my God, what if I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing or whatever? And so then the tone of the conversation changes a little bit and maybe becomes a little bit more distant. But the invitation to be curious and strengths-based actually helped elucidate a lot of darkness in Brandon's story. And I think there's something really powerful about the role of the arts and storytelling and writing particularly.
I agree.
Because I think in a clinical setting, I hear about this all the time. And I hear about it all day, so we can get a little desensitized to it or go, okay, we have to have a risk management perspective to this in terms of documentation. And what a lot of community mental health centers and academic centers and a lot of people love a safety contract. So I don't know if everybody knows what a safety contract is,
What is that?
but it's so your client says, I'm feeling like I want to end my life. Great. Well, here's a piece of paper that you're going to sign. It says you won't. Who wants to guess whether or not that's effective?
Right.
So it turns out there's no empirical research. There's nothing. It's a complete liability. But it's how stigmatizing, alienating, and shame-filled. How just I'm not renting a car. I just told you I'm thinking about ending my life.
Right.
So a lot of our clinical techniques have sort of completely moved away from what we, I think, know instinctually as humans. And I think a lot of religious spaces understand is the role of testimony
Yeah.
and sharing.
Sharing.
So
There's so much power in that.
There's so much power in that. And I think that the poem is a real testament to that. I mean, that was more effective than any literature review I could have read.
What are some of the most common emotional and psychological situational factors that may contribute to someone having suicidal thoughts?
So having a pre-existing diagnosis of a mental health condition, typically that's a risk factor. But what I would also say is your belief in your capacity to change. That's a big fact. If your client or a person doesn't believe it's going to change or believe that they can handle it, that's going to color the experience. Right. Rejection and shame. So a lot, particularly for men, it's the social isolation is a risk factor, lack of social supports, substance use disorders, but a feeling of hopelessness and an inability or a belief that you are unable to use relationships as resources.
I see.
So people who have a low sense of their relational efficacy. So we probably know people like that who have a handful of friends, but will say, oh, I don't have any friends. People don't like me.
Right.
So someone with that framing in mind of that, like, no, I can't count on anybody. There's nobody in my life that I'm close to. That will make someone more likely to engage in suicidal behavior.
Does that manifest differently in children as compared to an adult?
I think so. I mean, I think that often, and I want to be really careful about this, but I think that usually when children are talking about suicide, they're not expressing a desire to end their life. They're letting someone know what they're experiencing is intolerable. And so the solution might, because you can't really expect a 6-year-old or a 12-year-old to be like, well, be more efficacious in your relationships. No, that's your role is as the adult and whatever to go like, okay, well, there's something intolerable happening. That's important for me to hear.
Right.
That whatever are you experiencing feels like too much.
Too much.
So I think that's how it manifests. You're more likely to have anger. Maybe even like you're gonna have things maybe like head banging, hair pulling. So it just you're trying to get out of your own skin, really. And then I think more towards adolescence, you're going to see withdrawal, social isolation, and a real like a sense of hopelessness.
Can't even think about it without thinking about this whole technology, social media, gaming, and things of that nature, and the impact that that can have on the minds and the emotional state of our youth.
100% agree. I think that we'll look back on social media the way we'll look back on tobacco.
Yeah.
Children before 18 shouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
But I think part of that ends up in a space where the separation between the real world and the game world or social media and the real world becomes blurrier. And already most adolescents have an experience where they're sort of main charactering themselves and thinking of themselves as like part of this very like their own movie. That's part of being a person, right? Is imagining things for yourself. And so they're already not great about terms of real life consequences.
Right.
They might think like, maybe I'll get pulled over for speeding, but it'll like look cool for something, that we're not really connecting cause and effect. And so I think if you take away even more grounding experiences, like participating in after school sports or like having a hobby, spending time with family dinner, those human experiences, the more we reduce those and increase these digital experiences, the less valuable life seems inherently.
That's profound.
Because you're not really around life very much, are you?
True.
You don't like your friend, you block them. You don't have a conversation. You don't you just don't see them anymore. How do you flirt with a girl? You like the photo.
Yeah. Yeah.
or made the story, but I'm very behind on all of it. My adolescent clients remind me all the time. I learn new things.
But there's not a conversation and a building of trust and a building of connection and things like that. Right.
Just the virtue of messing up in a social relationship.
Right. And actually repairing it.
Or being like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. That was really mean. Or I went too far. I did this. But now there's all these like symbolic interactions that sort of reduce them. So I don't know if anybody has anything conclusive about it, but I don't think anybody in terms of social media use for children is nuts about it. I just don't. I think that on one hand, I do see the benefit of like opportunities to build community that are not based in geography, but are based in interest. So like having a best friend that's super into anime who lives in Canada, that might be an asset for a child who struggles or is maybe neurodivergent or has a very specific interest. So I could see there's benefit to be made or an argument to be made about that. But I think it's a bit of the Wild West psychologically. So I think we're going to see how it shakes out.
What myths about suicide do you most often have to correct?
That it's selfish.
Those of us left behind feel that.
I think that's valid. And so I can exist in a space where like, I'm going to honor your experience of like feeling that you lost something and something was taken away from you and it was unfair. But I think the phenomena is not better understood if we're looking at it through as a moral failing. And I think I did notice often when Brandon would talk about his attempts, he would frame them as failures instead of successes. And I think if we use language, I think language is important and sort of, I wonder what it would feel like to talk about those times as the angels of my better nature offered me grace. And what that would feel like. So I think talking about it and that language around it is doing it for attention, which I hate that phrase to begin with because it's stupid. Everyone likes attention. There's nothing wrong with it. That's a human thing. The best way to change how you're understanding that is to go, what if you changed it to they're doing it for connection? So maybe your friend is talking about it all the time and bugging you and you're kind of like, I don't think they're going to follow through with that or whatever.
Right.
But if you went, instead of they're doing it for attention, you went, they're doing it for connection. They're wanting me to hear them. That suicide is maybe the language they're needing to talk about the severity of the feeling.
Right. It's a cry for help.
It's a cry for help.
Yeah.
And that's not, and I think, or it's an invitation for connection.
Yeah.
And I wish, one of the myths, I don't know how much of this is a myth, but I think it's a belief that I struggled with professionally was that like the time to talk about suicide is in the crisis stage. And because there's a fear around talking about it casually.
Yeah.
And I think people worry about talking about it and it's not a casual thing, but I think talking about it and going, yeah, sometimes I do wish I didn't wake up. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Right.
Yeah. What would that mean for you? What do you think you're escaping? So I think having those conversations more upstream instead of this is a crisis.
There are some people who believe if I mention it, then they may do it, as if I've like given them the idea.
Like it's Beetlejuice or something.
Right.
You're going to summon it.
Right. and that's
it. Many times it's already in the room with us. So I think that people have fleeting thoughts. I think people have desires, and they're not always a desire to die. There's also a desire for maybe a version of themselves to die. Yeah. And that deserves grief and processing in space without judgment or fear.
Yeah. And even as an escape. Like I don't want to go through what I have to go through to get to the other side of this situation.
I've had some clients that are very chronically suicidal, but it feels like an escape hatch. So it feels like, okay, well, I'll do this, but then I can do it. It's not my favorite way of framing the issue, but for some of them, the belief that they can end their life feels like control, self-determination, agency. And okay, well, we can use that as a way to think about, sure, if that doesn't go how you want it to go, that is an option. But then maybe it goes the way you want it to go.
Right.
So if I make it spacious for you to bring that fear to the table, it takes away a little bit of the power.
It does.
But I do understand that people who aren't clinicians are frightened by this topic.
It can be scary.
Of course.
And
Or you've had a personal loss.
Right.
So I think it'd be hard to be in a room with any group of people and not know someone who was impacted by suicidality, either directly or through their relationships.
If we know that there's someone who is close to us, they're in crisis, what words are helpful? And this is for a layperson.
Yeah.
What words are helpful, and what are some statements that we should avoid when we're talking to our loved one?
I think coming with curiosity and not feeling the pressure to fix or solve. And I think the phrase, tell me about it, goes a really long way. And because I think it's going to facilitate connection.
Right. And then listen.
And just be still. Just be still. So there are obviously like resources. So I think if you're in a position or in a relationship or close with someone who deals with this chronically, I think there are a lot of, so I think that having a conversation about like, hey, so if this gets worse, like what is like the number for your therapist? What would you feel comfortable with me doing? So is there a way that, what would you like for me to do? Like, is there sort of like sometimes we call it a hope kit, like things that sort of will make you feel better, or a list of like, I want to go to this place, have my favorite food, do my favorite thing. Like, let's talk about that. So next time what are some ways that we can solve this together?
And have the conversation before there's a crisis.
Yeah, but the truth is the luxury of having insight into your own mental health is, which is a luxury. Not everybody is there. I feel like Brandon's probably in a place where he could talk to his partner or his close people and be like, hey, if these are the signs, this is what to look for. This is who you can call. This is like what will help me and what won't help me.
Yeah, but not
everybody's there yet. And I think that, encouraging connection with a professional, that it's not admitting that you're failed at doing it alone. It doesn't mean that you're not strong enough. But I think normalizing psychiatric medication, because that will be the first thing people will usually stop taking when it's working. So people will have depression, bipolar, or any other type of diagnosis and go, well, I don't really want to take my medication anymore because like I don't need it anymore. Because you've been taking the medication.
Right.
So the number of times that if we were talking about insulin, if we were talking about Lipitor, we wouldn't have to have that conversation. But there is this belief that psychiatric medication is kind of for people who can't really handle life.
Right.
And it's not true.
And I'm better now.
Turns out your brain and your body pretty closely related. So taking care of that part of your body and with your medication is really critical. So I think feeling emboldened to talk about your psychiatric medication, talk about sort of using it properly, talk about, hey, are you up to date on your refills? Are you going to see because that medication compliance is a big thing too. I think often because of the stigma that it's like, oh, I see it. I work with a doctor right now as his therapist, and he's a medical professional.
Yeah.
And I still have to go, you stopped taking it because it was working. Why did you say? So it's not a matter of knowledge, but it is a matter of belief. And I think a lot of us walk around with a belief that psychiatric illnesses aren't real because we don't act about our mental health is not really addressed through facts. It's addressed through our belief system.
Right.
And if our belief system is that mental health is sort of not real, not a big deal, it doesn't matter, stress is sort of like meh, medication, it's going to catch up with us.
It will. So what are some resources that that those who are in crisis could take advantage of, and then also those who are close to people who they're concerned about? What are some resources that are available to them?
Well, so the, NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Illness, will have, if you put in your zip code, they'll have a list of like friends and family groups for because being a parent of a child with severe psychiatric illness is very hard. Being a sibling, being a partner. So there are usually support groups in your area that can help with that, or there'll be sort of information or listings of clinicians that are like specially trained to handle that. And then also on the NAMI website will be resources for managing suicidality, finding treatment, and often addressing suicidality immediately in crisis. I think there is a fear of, if I call the hotline, if I call 988, I'm going to end up in a padded room. And I think it's really important, and I wish everybody knew that, at least in Tennessee, I can speak to the Tennessee 988, about 74% of those calls end up being diversions from an ER or an inpatient psychiatric stay. So sometimes the call will resolve the stressor or the acute sort of usually transient period of stress and connect you to a local resource. I know we've got volunteer behavioral health. We have mental health cooperative. We have Helen Ross McNabb. We have lots of community-based resources, and just in the Chattanooga area.
And they're affordable.
They're affordable, especially if you have TennCare. Usually, like, you don't have to pay anything. And also what's great about these community mental health places is often that like an individual therapy session will be $60. Which is very affordable. Yeah. Or you just have your insurance take care of it. So if you're paying out of pocket, it'll be really affordable. And they also have crisis centers. So you don't necessarily have to go to the ER. But I will say, even if your friend or loved one might be mad at you, sometimes safety is the best choice.
Make the call.
Make the call.
Yeah.
Make the call.
Make the call. So if people want to get in touch with you.
So my website is www.katharineperry.com. Katharine is spelled KATHARINEMPERRY.com. You can also find me on Psychology Today. But yeah.
We thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Brandon.
Oh my gosh. Thanks to Brandon and to Katharine for sharing with us today. And we would like to hear from you. What comes to your mind when you hear the word suicide? Is it the memory of a person? Is it an overwhelming emotion? We'd like to hear from you. Share your experience in an original poem that you've written in response to this podcast and submit it to RNCPoetry@gmail.com for the opportunity to have your poem read on an upcoming episode. You are not alone. Please do not suffer in silence. We do care about you. So until next time, I'm the Poetic Diva. May your days be filled with inspiration, healing, and poetry, one rhyme at a time.